From the North Stadium, the Keno Sports Complex in Tucson, Arizona. It is our second Tucson friendly of this Wednesday afternoon. Neil Seega, Matt Peterson, glad to have you aboard on MLSsoccer.com as the Portland Timbers and Houston Dynamo meet up for their second MLS preseason action of 2014. Dynamo playing back in Houston on Sunday, falling to the Colorado Rapids in cold and rainy conditions down in the Lone Star State, the Buffalo Bayou, if you will, while the Portland Timbers a 1-1 tie on Saturday evening with Sporting Kansas City to kick off the Tucson friendlies. Dynamo into town last night, Matt, and here they go back at it after a run to the Eastern Conference Final a year ago. And like much of the teams in the preseason, we'll see some fresh faces. We'll also see a veteran group trying to get their legs underneath them.
First off, Neil, great to be here. Beautiful facility. We were here a year ago, and this wasn't even under construction yet, so it's come a long way here in Tucson. And as you said, two good playoff teams from a year ago, and for the Dynamo, their third preseason game. For the Portland Timbers, their second.
So Portland will come out. We're going to play, we've been told, 3 30-minute sessions here for this second game of the day. Earlier, Seattle defeating San Jose 2-1. Dynamo will wear their traditional orange, while it'll be Portland in their Ponderosa green as they take the field under Caleb Porter. He's going to go with the lineup of their first 11. Andrew Weber is going to start in goal for the Timbers. They'll have Jorge Villafana, picked up in the offseason with a trade for Andrew Jean-Baptiste to Chivas USA. He'll be the left back. Pairing in central defense, it'll be Mamadou Fouti Dansu with Rashawn McKenzie, who played the second half on Saturday night. The right back will be Alvis Powell, the Jamaican. In the midfield, we'll have Ben Zemanski and Aaron Long. Timbers played up a man, and Long looked pretty composed, delivering the ball to Shiloh Chuma for the game-tying goal. Michael Nanchoff, Khalif Al-Hassan will be wide with Frederick Piquillon and Victor Chavez, the 71st pick in the draft out of UCLA, as we are underway under the whistle of referee Tyler Pluger. Immediately Brian Ownby, who starts wide for the Dynamo, taking it down and working it into the area. Mike Chabala, who is here in camp, although currently without a contract, finding Ownby in the box, and the rookie Mark Sherrod from Memphis lofting that high and out of play for a Weber goal kick. And Houston very aggressive to start of the opening 30 seconds.
Yeah, Neil, a younger lineup than maybe we've seen the first two games, but you see Brian Ownby, a guy who had a great loan spell last year with Richmond Kickers, his hometown team, comes back looking to fight into a very crowded midfield, and a good first minute for him.
Ownby, third-year player out of the University of Virginia, with a supplemental pick back in 2012. Jason Johnson is also up on the front of that attack. Cito Sione, the trialist and a torrid scorer at the junior college level, is in there to start for Houston in the midfield, as they also work with Alex Lopez and Servando Carrasco, who came over in the deal for Adam Moffett in the fall of last year. And Ewan Holden, he's the younger brother of Stewart, along with rookie A.J. Cochran, David Horst, Chabala, and Tally Hall, who's expected to go the first 60 minutes. That's the Dynamo 11. So we're underway as the sun sets here, just past 7 o'clock in the east and 5 o'clock Mountain Time. This facility erected in 2010. You were commenting on it, Matt, and it really is a darling little place here in southern Arizona to watch FC Tucson, who will later take part in the Desert Cup later in the month. Corner kick is earned here.
Neil, we saw Cito Sione in the very first preseason game against the Academy, scored from a free kick about 20 yards out, so a good delivery of the ball from the early indications.
And a left-footed ball here that Dansu has to rise and nick away. Chased out of there by Long, and Chabala all the way back to get it. Sione, 30 goals in 2013 for San Jacinto South, en route to being an All-American at the National Junior College level. A little bit of a spell with the Austin Aztecs. They won the PDL title. He scored 5 goals in the playoffs.
Yeah, and of course, San Jacinto Junior College, a very good junior college program right in Houston. So geographically, it made sense to give him an opportunity here in preseason.
Here's Horst, injured all of last year when he was with the Timbers. And he has come on for a 4th-round pick in the 14 draft. That was the trade made back in December out of Old Dominion, fighting through injuries through much of his career, which began in Salt Lake. Got a little bit of a bump and a Houston foul. 4 minutes old. Here's Powell, the good run down the far wing. All the way into the channel and sets up Piquillon, and his headed ball goes right off the foot of Nanchoff and out of play. A goal kick for Tally Hall. No Brad Davis for Houston. He's resting up, coming back after national team duty. Also, Jermaine Taylor and Kofi Sarkodie, 2 regulars in the back line, nursing back to health. Portland is still without Diego Valeri and Steve Zakawani, both coming off off-season sports hernias. About a week or 2 away. We'll see more of what is shaping up to be a first 11 for the Timbers in the second half. Here's Villafana. Way back when, he won that open competition to win a roster spot. Sueño MLS in 2007. He was known as Jorge Flores back then. Sent away over the top by Weber, who spent the last 2 seasons in Seattle. It'll be a Portland throw.
Neil, you mentioned some of the opportunities. I think a big one for Mark Sherrod, 2nd-round pick of the Dynamo out of University of Memphis this season. You know, Dominic Kinnear likes to talk about opportunities against MLS competition. There's one more game for the Dynamo against San Jose in a few days, and they play FC Tucson. Then there's a long gap before they go to Charleston. So this might be the last opportunity for him to start against MLS competition for a little while.
Dynamo will join Seattle. We saw earlier today in Charleston. Al Hassan run down the pipe and right at Hall with the shot just outside the arc. Sherrod, the 23-year-old, he put up goals in college. He scored 42 of them in Memphis.
Yeah, after the draft, Neil, Dominic Kinnear talked about his work rate at the Combine. He said at the Combine, oftentimes a 4.33 lone striker. He really just worked his butt off and made an impression on the Dynamo coaching staff.
Chance to earn that here throughout the preseason. Of course, as you well know, a veteran group that has had so much success. A run to the Eastern Conference Final. Well, some may say it was an upset. I mean, Dom Kinnear gets it done in the playoffs, and then 2 consecutive MLS Cup appearances against the LA Galaxy. So the group that he has, he knows well. Futidansu, Villafana. Strikes this cleanly. He looks to the outside. Powell over there. Al Hassan has dropped back. William Collin was sent off late in the first half in that game against Kansas City. It gave Portland a man up, but Kansas City had struck first on a Bieler set piece to Sal Zizzo. There's a foul and a Portland free kick. Still the early stages. Minute 7. Carrasco. Cross, but right at Villafana. Owenby almost won it back. And then got a little too aggressive, tugged down the shirt. Owenby went on loan for much of last year to the Richmond Kickers. Just 3 senior matches. The U20 World Cup veteran, Egypt 2009.
Another big preseason as well for Brian Ownby. You know, he came on as a rookie, had some opportunities before Boniek Garcia joined the club. But with Boniek Garcia and Brad Davis there, obviously a lot of depth. Now you have Andrew Driver and Tony Casio on loan from Colorado. So a very competitive part of the team. And a great loan spell, as we said, for Ownby, but a big preseason for the third-year player.
Portland trying to sustain in Houston real estate. Powell. There's Zemansky, a product of the Akron system. The Zips keep churning out, much under the direction of now the head man in Stumptown. What a first year they had. 14-5-15, 57 points, good for first in the Western Conference regular season. Edging out the likes of Seattle and Salt Lake. They're on their way to the CONCACAF Champions League because of that and the new rules put in prior to 2013. There's another young rookie in Cochran who sent it out back into Horst. Jason Johnson. Yeah. Times where he shined in his opening year. Second-year player out of Virginia Commonwealth. Jamala against Nanchoff, finds Owenby trying to turn on Villafaña. Just ran out of room. There is the effort by Johnson that was, now they say, partially deflected by Zemansky. He can't believe it, but the Dynamo earn their second corner of the opening 10 minutes.
We mentioned big preseasons. Another one, Jason Johnson. He had some remarks in the preseason talking about his thoughts on his first year as a rookie. Said, good rookie season, but a little disappointed. Wants to do a lot better here in his second year. So Jason Johnson looking to gain some time. A big start for him today.
Sione plays in that corner with that left-footed in-swinger. Heavy collision in the area. And Piccione is down while Portland tries to restart, but will hold things up. Take on the injured Martinique international, who's with them from 2002 to 2012. Signed last February. He had a goal and 5 assists while trying to fight through an ankle injury in his opening season in Portland. Well, while they check on him, we remind you the regular season fast approaching. March 8th as teams kick off. Every day is game day with MLS Live. Watch hundreds of live and archive games on your phone, tablet, or computer with MLS Live. Visit live.mlssoccer.com for more information or to subscribe. Hard to believe, just a month out, huh?
Unbelievable. Quite the offseason around the league. Big news today.
I'd say so.
One of the most exciting parts of this league. Seems like every week there's 2 or 3 newsworthy events.
From the end of the playoffs and then all the transactions leading up to the draft, with trades and allocations, quickly moving into preseason camps. Much of the league spending time down in Florida. Of course, the big news today, as Matt was referring to, in Miami. David Beckham stating his case, of course, to bring most of us all knew, a matter of getting the stadium. And they say it's not going to be publicly financed. Dansu. McKenzie. Sherrod given chase. Long. Al Hassan, he found him well, but that pass goes awry.
Neil, we saw the work rate there from Alex Lopez. That was a big talking point in the offseason. Lopez, obviously a big signing from Honduras, played with Olympia, played in the Olympics and the Gold Cup, but clearly Dominic here wants to work harder defensively, and you see maybe a little initiative there from the 21-year-old from Honduras.
No, that's the point right there. 21, learning that acumen, especially coming to this league. 8 caps for him. Closing in on the end of the first quarter hour in Tucson. Sione. Shabala leaking that all the way down to Weber. Crushes it to the other end. Remain with the Dynamo. Another solid year for Tally Hall in 2013. He was an inactive All-Star a couple of years ago. Saw every minute. 95 save, 9 shutout season in 2013. Waited in the wings. And now getting his chance and his shine the last few years.
Earned team MVP honors, and a lot of that's a media vote, but I think it was one that no one really disagreed with. You can make the case for Ricardo Clark, but sure, he got Player of the Year on a team very loaded like the Dynamo. A real testament. Anytime a goalie wins team MVP award, it's a real feather in the cap of the goalkeeper. But I thought Hall had an excellent season, really kept the Dynamo in a lot of games.
Houston was 14-11-9. Their 51 points was good for a tie for 4th in the East. They went to the wild card game and dismantled Montreal as Montreal came unglued in that one. 3-0 the final. Then some restitution from 2008. They beat the top seed Red Bulls in the conference semifinals after falling behind by a couple of goals in that first leg and worked their way back. And ultimately fell short the Sporting Kansas City after they had their number the previous 2 years, but a good battle nonetheless and another fine season. Foul here, Long is the one called, even though he limps a bit. Owenby, show that quick burst, that flash. He showed it on both wings now, but lost the handle. Go back to Portland here. A scoreless game and 16 minutes in. Picquion, who has recovered from that fall a few minutes ago. On the back pass, Weber trying to help out the pressure on Villafana. Houston has provided some of that in the early going here. Here is Lopez. Sione. Jason Johnson sends a dart right at Dansu. Shabala. Owenby. Right idea, looking for Sherrod, but too tall. Chavez burst the other way. Kind of playing as a withdrawn striker here. Kid from UCLA was on the U18 team that traveled to Lisbon back in 2010. He was a U17 World Cupper in Nigeria in 2009. Taken one of the last picks in the draft several weeks ago in January. Houston throws in. You can see Sporting Kansas City wrapping up their evening training in the background. Take on the Indy 11 later in the week, so they'll make their way.
Another ambitious addition to USL.
Yeah. Debutantes, if you will. Here's Powell. It's a good soccer town. As he'll scorch this one across. Elvis Powell makes another 40-yard run, but in the end, the substance lacking. The Jamaican picked up on loan from Portmore United last June. Went on to play in 5 league games. He's only 19.
you see Chabala here on the right side, naturally a left-footed player, but he can play right back. Got some time last year in the Open Cup and Champions League, so some versatility from Chabala playing both sides.
2 seasons with Portland, 2011 and 2012 for the University of Washington product. He'll have the throw here. 55 degrees around kickoff in the Arizona Valley on a nod to Weber. Viafania. Work this back to his keeper. To start it out again, Timbers have their own preseason tournament, but of course their tickets always at a fever pitch. They're sold out. The season tickets are. $50 deposit holds your place in line for the season ticket wait list. Wait list members get access to pre-sale opportunities, access to exclusive events, and more. Join now by visiting timbers.com. That's Matt Peterson, 20 minutes in. Scoreless here in our second Tucson friendly of the day. Dynamo starting brightly. They've had a slight edge in possession. Your thoughts so far?
Yeah, I think it's been a good start for Houston. Right off the bat, Ownby came down this right side, and I don't know, maybe a little more settled than this Portland team here early on, but still a long way to go, and we'll see obviously some substitutions, but I think Dominic Keener will be happy with this start.
Well, the plan for both teams was to go in groups of 3 for 30 minutes. Some carrying over. Ownby. Is pressure enough on Viafania? Lost it in the tracking back of Nanchoff. Viafania knocks that off Ownby and right down below us. As the sun sets and the wind picks up, Houston going in that direction here in the first half. Sherrod came back to dispossess that nicely from Szymanski, but it turned out to fizzle. McKenzie to Powell. Tucked in to Ben Szymanski. A teammate of Viafania once upon a time at Chivas. Here is the Portland left back, with Chavez rising and the ball falling to Aaron Long, who corks it wide. So a goal kick here for Tally Hall. Ownby and Dansu battle. Chabala. Sherrod kept it in. Trying to work hard against Dansu, and he respects that, as Weber will do the same that Hall did moments ago. Portland, one of their main goals was to add a guy who could possibly give them 10 to 15 goals, and Ryan Johnson had a very nice year last year. He wanted to try his luck in Europe, still waiting on that opportunity. So Gaston Fernandez, who played the first half on Saturday, is the guy they will look to do so. Had a couple nice opportunities. Back-to-back 10-goal seasons in 11 and 12 at Estudiantes de La Plata. Should see him later on. For a team that still scored 54 goals, third most in the league, and only conceded 33, second behind Sporting Kansas City, the defending champs. Piquion cutting inside against 3. Chavez does a nice job to lay it off to Nanchoff. Rising out of there in the battle is Cochran. He was the first-round pick for Houston, 16th selection out of Wisconsin. And John Trask up there in Madison.
When he came to the Dynamo very start of preseason, Neil is excited to join the St. Louis contingent. Of course, Brad Davis, Steve Ralston, and Will Bruin, all from some of the big high schools in St. Louis. So the 4th St. Louis product, now part of the coaching staff or first team.
Big Ten Defender of the Year is senior season. Powell dancing on the edge of the area, but really didn't do much to fool Ewan Holden. He's hanging around at that left back role. Ewan is 26, and he's bounced around in England, spent some time in the 5th division with Stockport County, done a little work in Denmark, collegiate career at UConn, and then finishing at New Mexico. Portland trying to develop a little more rhythm here. 25 minutes in. It cools off and the wind escalates. Working with it to their back. Al Hassan, Piquion. Cochran out there defending him. Piquion just a hopeful ball, but nobody there but the blue of Tally Hall. Sione. Lopez. Dansu came forward, then lost it. Lopez, Sherrod, and now Ownby. On that wing again. Accelerates. A little sloppy with that second touch, and Villafana claims that he lost it over the line, but he's given the benefit of the doubt. And that cross going off the Portland left back, and another Houston corner.
Neil, 26 minutes in, most of the chances for Houston have been down this right side. So it looks like good combination play between Mike Jabal and Brian Ownby working down here against Villafana.
Every time the corner has come to this radius, it's Sione deliver the goods. Put it on the forehead of David Horst. Talking about him earlier and just having his size, his presence at 6'4", 210. Of course, you know, Houston losing a pretty good one, and Bobby Boswell, who's now with DC United. Guy who was a stalwart in that back line. So you've got some choices now with the likes of Cochran, whether Bruner works into the mix. He was battling injuries, and now Horst.
Yeah, it's interesting. Dominic Kinnear, 2 acquisitions in the offseason, Tony Casio on a loan and Horst on a straight trade, and a couple of players he's been tracking for a few years and has tried to get for a few years, and Portland's become a good trading partner obviously over the years with Adam Moffett and then Eric Brunner last offseason, and here David Horst. So sort of ironic that Portland players coming over to Houston, but Horst has showed well his first few games, very dominant in the air as most people know, but he seems to have a good attitude and gaining some confidence after coming back from that devastating leg injury.
Sure. That was a good looking ball by Lopez that got caught in the wind and forced a reroute of the run by Johnson.
Horst this week talked about playing against Colorado. He said it felt good to get into tackles again, to get extended playing time. He had reserve games last year with Portland, but after an off season, you never really know.
speaking of Colorado, you were just talking about the loan, the first intra-league loan in MLS history. Tony Cassio, who was highly touted coming into Colorado. They really liked him as a rookie. Kind of got lost in the minute shuffle there. Tom Kinnear very excited to have this guy wearing Houston orange. Should see him a little bit later on.
Yeah, he's looked really good. Neil scored a goal against his old team. Been very active on the outside. Johnson not making any friends with the central referee, just tried to restart it. It's cooling down here in Tucson, and he drilled the referee from about 5 yards.
Feel like a snowball from the Midwest as this sun sets. Well, maybe not quite, but.
Looks like Portland having a little difficulty building out of the back. They seem to clear it to about midfield, and the Dynamo claiming things at the halfway line.
Of course, well, Szymanski, long a rookie, Szymanski familiar with playing under Caleb Porter. They really made what you would call the leap in the midfield with Will Johnson's breakout season and him being able to play off a guy like Chara, who was kept out on Saturday. Johnson trying to sneak that inside for Owenby. Szymanski read it well. Viafania caught the juggling instep of Al Hassan, and his footwork earns a foul.
Thought a nice season last year for Al Hassan. Always a lot of potential, always a lot of hope, I think, from Poland. But last year it seemed like he put it all together and had a great year for the Timbers.
That is the first 30 minutes, as we'll play 3 sessions of 30 here in this second Tucson friendly of the evening. It is scoreless between Houston and Portland here at the Keno Sports Complex, the North Stadium. We'll step aside and come right back on MLSsoccer.com with the second 30 minutes.
total minutes. Wow. That's gonna work.
Seeker Matt Peterson. Our second 30 minutes has begun. Scoreless between Houston and Portland. Couple of changes for Caleb Porter's Timbers. George Fokai, the rookie, the Parisian who played at Connecticut, played the second half on Saturday, has stepped down into the midfield. And so has new left back Taylor Pie, who accounted himself well. Here's Owenby starting this second 30 much like he did the first. Sharon, Sione, Lopez, Johnson. Houston with the same cast of characters that began the first 30 minutes, including Tally Hall in goal. Picquion, Nanchoff, so those are really the only two. Villafana has taken a step out. Down that sideline. Works into the midfield now, Villafana. Sharon drifted that back and behind. There's PA in for Victor Chavez, who started the first half forward.
Good physical play there in midfield, Neil. Mark Sharon beating Footy Danzu, but then that pass, right? He got up there and it was 1 against 3. Tried to connect with Owenby, but good physical play there from the rookie.
Beg your pardon, Fokai will enter, but not on at the moment. Al Hassan, Picquion, Malvis Powell remain. Here is Powell. Tucking in as Portland attacks. The sun glaring in their faces. Here's PA.
Good tackle there from Owenby.
Counted himself very well here through the first 33 minutes. Johnson. Sione, and this is Carrasco playing Chabala. Tries to leak it down to the University of Virginia product. PA. Grew up in Salt Lake City. Was a UW Husky. Sent that right to Horst. Tight spacing between Lopez and Carrasco. Nanshoff into the tackle, and a slew of legs follow into that sequence. In the end, it's Al Hassan who draws the foul, the Ghanaian, heading into his 4th MLS season. 3 goals in 30 games last year. Long. Zemansky sent it right to Owenby. He steers to the outside. Ryan Owenby, great engine, great run. Turns it across, no one there. Sherrod was a little tardy after a 60-yard scamper.
He'll be frustrated by the end product, Neil, but what a run. You saw the change of pace in midfield. Came into camp very fit after working hard in the offseason, and you see the dividends there. More good work from Owenby down this right side.
And he's been as bright as the orange and the sun, which is really blinding right now. Nanshoff lost that. Now trying to hustle back after it. And Ewan Holden sends it out of play. We'll go back to the Timbers. 35 minutes in, awaiting the game's first goal. Neither team with fantastic grade A chance, if you will. There's been some promise, but it's been sporadic. Villafaña setting up Piquillon, who wedged in there on the rookie Cochran. He did well for himself to fend off. Send that to the opposite sideline. Powell, long. Well wide with that effort.
Dynamo fans, 5-star ticket pack on sale now for only $99. Some great games, some great opponents. Opening day against the New England Revolution and their young star-studded cast. Landon Donovan of the LA Galaxy, May 17th. July 4th against the New York Red Bulls. Toronto FC, July 19th. And then final home game, October 12th.
Hall had to dart out on that effort by Al Hassan. It might have hit side netting. A good run by Villafaña down the wing to create that sequence. In Portland has a corner kick here in minute 37. Playing 3 groups of 30 here in this second Tucson friendly. As the sun sets in southern Arizona, Neil Sika, Matt Peterson. Glad you're with us on MLSsoccer.com. Second MLS preseason match for each team. That shot going just wide off another deflection, though. Villafaña was waiting on that initial corner clearance, and Nanshoff goes right back to the flag. On it goes in. McKenzie running across. Scuffs it off his thigh. So Portland a little bit better here over the last few minutes. And you were talking about the exciting opportunities ahead with tickets and availability for Dynamo games, but a new group of neighbors in town coming this season. And of course, the new addition to the NWSL.
Yeah, announced today, Neil, jerseys will be unveiled 5 o'clock on Friday at BBVA Compass Stadium, open to the public. So check out the new jerseys for the new women's team, unveiled Friday, 8 or 9 girls in town for Dash Day, which is Saturday.
Of course, Portland has got the Thorns. They have drawn great crowds up there. The Geldwin. 9 minutes into this second session of 30. Al Hassan kind of curling. Going to lay it off to Frederic Piquillon. Sherrod trying to chase down McKenzie, who's able to relinquish to Alvis Powell. Weber still the man in goal for Portland. Hall for the Dynamo is long with a nice turn. Al Hassan looking for him on the back end of that. Cleared away by Horst. Stay with the Timbers as PA will do the honors. Johnson. Ewan Holden doing well to dispossess Nanshoff. Can tell maybe still in the early going as the flag up on Sherrod for offside. He continued to play it as it initially went off Powell. You can tell, Matt, this is around the time, still early in the preseason, 41st minute. Some of these guys still getting game fit, and a little bit of fatigue may have settled in on a couple of bodies.
Yeah, absolutely. And also just the legs, you know. You come in from the off season, you're playing every day. An off day here or there. The Dynamo were off Monday, but trying to get used to that day in, day out grind.
Houston, the last of the teams to get here, arriving last night. Not even a full 24 hours in town. And in action as Cito Sione, who's the guest player at the Dynamo here in this 2014 camp, is fouled. He's taken the corners. It's Houston battling the wind.
I think the players and coaches, though, Neil, would love all these games. I think it's 11 or 12 preseason games in about 35 days. So
yeah.
Earlier years in the league, 12-week preseason. Now it's down to about 6, and you get 11 or 12 games, and it's a game every 3 days.
There's Lopez looking for Horst as Weber took the other avenue, and Horst was right on it, but knocked it wide. A good look.
Portland fans obviously more familiar with Horst than Dynamo fans, but you see there he attacks the ball, gets forward on the set pieces, and a good delivery from Lopez.
He had started the first 2 games and then suffered the tibia fracture, which ended his season. Weber. Cochran going on the 50-50 with Piquillon. Jason Johnson. Another one of those burners.
Horst's injury actually happened against the Dynamo, a game in which Portland lost 3 players to injury, including Diego Valeri, but still managed to beat the Dynamo 2-0. A great second-half performance from the Timbers.
Valeri, a phenomenal opening campaign in Major League Soccer. Came with the recommendation of Guillermo Barros-Schelotto and did not disappoint. Newcomer of the year last year.
And you see good composure and physicality from Cochran. Piquillon obviously is big, strong target forward, but Cochran had no trouble. Calmly played it back to Tally Hall. A good sign from the rookie.
So far for the 3 games that have began on Sunday, some of these younger Central defenders are very courageous and have more than held their own. Sofia today with San Jose in the Seattle game. Peter Schmetz with Sporting Kansas City and the Portland match on Saturday. Long. PA. McKenzie out of Michigan State with his 4th team, and this is 6th year where he'll earn minutes in Major League Soccer. Carrasco. Chabala and Lopez help form the triangle, but it quickly dissipates. Zamansky right in the center, working with his Akron teammate Nanchoff. Simply just blew a tire there, but Portland still on the ball. PA. I'll be wishing he had some shades as he surveys, looking back up into the sun. Going against Chabala. PA doing well to find Villafana. He's come forward into the middle of the field since PA's taken over at left back. Here's a bender from Al Hassan, but a tie. Played 15 minutes of the second 30, and of course approaching the end of a normal first 45. And that was the point of discussion prior to kickoff. Will they switch at 45? My guess is yes. Is this ball out of play? And here are the wholesale changes at 45. So more of a traditional stretch.
Neil, looks like Brunner and Anthony Arena will come on for Horst and Cochran at center back.
Oscar Boniek Garcia is out there. Sensational player. Ricardo Clark steps on. They are switching ends. So Tally Hall will trot to our right. Weber to the left. We'll be ready to go as soon as everyone's in position. Chabala, for the moment, appears he may stay out there. Giles Barnes is out there. Ricardo Clark.
Preseason debut for Corey Ash. Neil had a shoulder issue in the offseason, so they've been taking it easy with him, working on the side, so he gets his first competitive game here tonight.
Will Bruin, Omar Cummings, and Tony Cassio. This is more of a first look 11 for Houston. Here as we're at the midpoint of this second Tucson friendly. Dansu defending on Cummings on the throw in. Picquion, Nanchoff, Al Hassan. Many of the same faces still remaining for Portland. Folkive has now come on in the center of the midfield. He's the rookie from Connecticut, taken with the 39th pick. Foul here and some confusion as to who it was on. At least to the guys on the field, it will be a Portland free kick in the end.
Yeah, interesting decision. Looked like Clark was fouled. He's talking with the referee right now. He's obviously a lot closer than we are, but it looked like Clark was hauled down, but a difference in view.
Nanchoff, McKenzie. This group out there for Caleb Porter, the plan was to go the first 60, so we're at the midpoint, but they still have about 15 minutes remaining.
Every day is game day with MLS Live. Watch hundreds of live and archive games on your phone, tablet, or computer with MLS Live. Visit live.mlssoccer.com for more information or to subscribe. I think it's mandatory for any MLS fan. Neil, great deal, $60 a season and almost every game.
Yeah, we're spoiled with it. I mean, it's great preparation as Picquion off the hop and half volley sends Hall diving to his right on that ball over the top from out of the Timbers back. Casio, Giles Barnes, 9 goals and 4 assists for the Englishman last year. Just 25, lots to offer. Same with this guy, Garcia. Trying to find Cummings, who again battled injuries but did come on to provide a little bit of substance in the playoffs last year. That was really the talk going into the season, Matt, if he could ever find the form or at least get back to the health he had with Colorado. It was going to be a pretty potent tandem up top, working with the likes of Will Bruin, who's already acquitted himself pretty well.
And that's the hope from the Dynamo coaching staff for this preseason. Cummings is more healthy than he was at this point last year. Seems to be moving just fine. So a full preseason to work with Barnes and Bruin up front.
Hall on the move is able to deflect that stifling effort.
Hasn't been tested much there, but that's maybe one of the toughest saves to make, right? When it's been a while on a cold day, preseason, concentration's got to be there, and it was.
Nanchoff. That hung up, Barnes got it. Fokive. Brian Gallego, he has come on since that 45-minute mark. He's the new left back for the Timbers. Homegrown signing. The rights initially for Gallego were in the New York Red Bulls academy system, but part of a trade that sent Kosuke Kimura to New Jersey. Back in 2012, December of 2012. So Gallego making his Portland debut this season. On the run down the wing here, Will Bruin bowls over into a former Big Ten adversary and McKenzie. Played 50 minutes, scoreless here at Lenore Stadium, Keno Sports Complex. Ten more minutes before another brief break. Picquion hop, skipping and jumping as he tried to loop around Anthony Arena there.
Yeah, he's talking with the assistant referee right now. There was some contact. I think he went down a little bit easily. Had that smile on his face afterward.
Agree, yeah. Preseason is a time to work on all things, right? PA. Lobbing in here, Nanchoff, Szymanski, Cummings, Barnes, and Casio in the area. Squirrels away to Fokive. Al Hassan. Stretched out Szymanski on that one. Eric Bruner. Now a married man. As the Ohioan down that left side with Ash getting forward, and it's teed up for Cummings. Really never squared around and put that back into the sand lot. But a good build-up nonetheless.
Yeah, great feed from Tony Casio there. It looked like he got it under underneath his right and then his left, but he still found a way to really put in a good spot for Omar Cummings, and nice to see Corey Ash get forward there. So this second half, the left side getting forward here for the Houston Dynamo after the right side had some success in the first 30 minutes or so.
Fokive, hard fulcrum up there on Barnes. Houston's taking the restart. Garcia, Corey Ash. Another all-star season for him last year in the left back role.
Here in the preseason, Neil, a lot of people talking about his need to be a leader this season. Of course, only 2 remaining original Dynamo players, Brad Davis, Ricardo Clark, Brian Ching now in the front office, and Bobby Boswell, who was sort of a vice captain, big in the locker room. He's now with DC, so Ash, after Davis, the longest tenured Dynamo man.
Chabala. What a career for Brian Ching. Chabala has it back, put it on the forehead of Barnes. Clark, as he tried to guide it to Cummings, the flag up for offside. Here in minute 53. Cummings. With Bruin, good work here, and now he springs the Jamaican. Dansu got back, that shot scorches high. Another sequence where it pinballed around, but the ever elusive Omar Cummings and the good find from Will Bruin. As Houston starting to find their footing with this group. 54th minute. Bruner. Szymanski with a lob into that breeze. As the Dynamo have it at their back now. Good anticipation by Clark. Caught in the boots, though, of Footy Dansu. Al Hassan. Nifty and swift on the ball. Trying for a little much. Piquion was rounding out that run. Arena and Bruner had it mapped off. Ash. A lot of green to roam here. Squared to Casio, who gave it a clip, but wide.
Yeah, why not from there? You know, against Colorado on Sunday, similar instance. They got off a throw and it fell to Casio, took a few touches, shot deflected off a teammate, Drew Moore, and went in. So you like to see that ambition anytime at the game.
Weber's send away. Oh, Arena is pummeled by his own man, Bruner. Laying motionless and immediately calling for the training staff. A scary moment here. Just turning up unsuspectingly, and the lanky Bruner right there at 6'4", who's dealt with his own head injuries as of recent years, and really hates to see that fall upon his own teammates. Arena had battled an ankle injury in 2013. See the concern on the faces of the group he's with out there.
talking with Dynamo athletic trainer. There it ends now, always a good sign. Some movement from Arena now.
That is positive because there wasn't much at first. That goal kick getting caught up in the wind. And there's another part too of the preseason, Maddie, whether it's backline to goalkeeper or an old central defending tandem, communication still being worked out, even in early games like these.
Yeah, very different conditions. The wind and also the sun and the sunsets and the shade. Obviously, most MLS games at night, not many in the twilight. If they're in the daytime, they're early to mid-afternoon, but shadows and sky like you have tonight, something different.
Well, there you see that spectacular panoramic. I mean, it is absolutely gorgeous. The state flag of Arizona represents well when you look at the scene and how things set here. You were even alluding to some of the beautiful sunsets you've seen out here in the past. As Arena is sitting up.
I guess it's the only downside for the fans here. The big grandstand is built with the sun at their back, but I guess the plan for that is during the summer months when it's a lot hotter down here. Sun at the back is a good thing.
Yeah, it's also not in their faces so they can see the action. They bestowed that upon us. Well, the way it looks, this may conclude the second 30 minutes. This time ticking into the 59th as both teams have went back to the bench, and it looks to be the case as Arena is up with assistance. Second-year player out of Wake Forest. He was a supplemental draft pick. Just 23. 5 starts in the reserve league last year. Dad familiar with the landscape out here in the Mountain West region, played football at UNLV.
He may have been dabbing his mouth, Neil, like maybe he took the forehead of Brunner to the top of his mouth. You know, if there's any silver lining here, it's that it is preseason. They just had their physicals just over a week ago. All the concussion testing and all the various things you do at the outset. So if they have to test him here in Tucson or back in Houston in the coming weeks, they'll have a very good baseline that's very, very recent.
So Arena walks off, and we have reached the end of 60 minutes here in Tucson, our second friendly of the day. It's scoreless between the Dynamo and Timbers, and when we return, the final 30 minutes here on MLSsoccer.com. give or take a body or two. Diego Valeri, part of that mix, of course, still not playing. Michael Harrington has returned from national team duty. He's of note in the left back role now. Jack Jewsbury is the right fullback. You've got Norberto Paparato, one of those 2 off-season Argentines, to come over. The man who just knocked it off his chest is Gaston Fernandez. He's the big forward signing up top. Pamodu Ka in central defense with Paparato. Darlington Nagbe with Will Johnson, Diego Chara, and Shilo Chuma, who scored the goal for Portland on Saturday. He's getting a look with this group as he's got it now at his feet. Max Arudi rounds out that 11, and for Anthony Arena coming off, AJ Cochran has returned, giving what is essentially the starting group for both these teams at this point.
Interesting, Chuma was available when the Dynamo took Cochran at number 16 in the first round. He and Cochran were the only 2 Generation Adidas players left. Dominic Kinnear said afterward it was a decision between the 2. In the end, they went with the center back. They might have needed the depth there a little bit more, but they like Chuma as well. So sort of interesting. The 2 are right on the field here just a few weeks later.
I think a lot of people like Chuma were surprised he fell to 17. Caleb Porter, pretty happy about that. Loves this style, feels it fits with what they want to play. Rudy, after Cummings had seemingly broken into the space. Donovan Ricketts, his first action here in Tucson. He didn't play on Saturday. It was Weber and Gleason getting the minutes. But for Houston, they have Tyler Derrick replacing Tally Hall after the 60. Cochran came forward, misjudged it. Now Fernandez glides it across. Chuma with Johnson coming off a career year and getting down low, but losing his equilibrium and scuffing it away for the Derrick goal kick.
Derrick, very highly regarded, hasn't had much opportunity in MLS action because Tally Hall has played in all but 1 game over the last 3 seasons, had some tough injury conflicts last year, suffered 1 in preseason, 1 in the middle of the season, so missed out on some Champions League opportunities, but back healthy here.
Here's Nagbe. Always the potential for a spectacular sequence with him. Another Akron man. Casio with Houston taking the advantage here and leads Bruin into the space. Good work around Ka, but Ka recovers well. And a leak to Paparato. They brought in to help with set-piece defending. Not only that, but on the flip side, on their own attacking set pieces.
Yeah, I thought a good first touch from Bruin there. Good simple move. Thought he would have an opportunity for a shot, but as you said, great recovery from Ka. So here with many of the first teamers out there, the game's coming to life in the final 30 minutes.
Cochran. Bruner and him make up the central defense. No Kofi Sarkori tonight. No Jermaine Taylor either. That leaves Chabala and Ash as the backs, and here is Ash.
Sarkodi, former roommate at Akron, best friends with Darlington Nagbe, so many connections, but I know Kofi and Darlington very, very good buddies.
Kofi grew up in the Dayton area, Southwest Ohio, and Nagbe in Cleveland. We went to Lakewood St. Edward. Will Johnson. Shilo Chuma. Right idea, but Derrick reads it well. You were talking about his minimal league play, only 3 games to this point in his career.
Very athletic, as you saw there, coming off his line. Homegrown.
And just 1 year at North Carolina, 2007. Bruner. Clark stabbed by Ka. Fernandez on back for Ricketts, the goalkeeper of the year for the 2nd time in his career last season. Estudiantes. Former stalwart Fernandez to Will Johnson. Canadian international. Trying to get Harrington involved. What a fine season he had. His first in Portland. After 6 years in Kansas City. Timbers going into the wind here in this final 35-minute session. Jewsbury, the inaugural captain of this Timbers team. It's now Will Johnson who has that honor. His cross got hung up in the air. Chara. Picks out Jewsbury. Fernandez. Chara once more, good find. Here is Fernandez. Had some time to work with it, trying to turn it back, but you can see the success that did not have. Nagbe and Clark, Paparazzo bowling into him. Dynamo free kick.
Neil, interesting reading about Fernandez's joining of Portland, the interview process in Portland. Interesting to read that word, but it is sort of an interview, right? The player has to fit the team has to like the player. It's a two-way street, but he obviously liked Caleb Porter's system and style of play, but I think very good positive sign for the league. Fernandez raving about the facilities in Portland and the infrastructure. So someone coming from Argentina with compliments for the infrastructure at MLS, I think is a very good sign for the league.
Well, it helps to have formed a friendship with Paparazzo and of course Valeri and his success. Let's be honest, that's not the case for all South Americans coming over to the league to have that bravado instantaneously, but it was a good feather in the cap to coming here. Rudy's also there who can speak the language. They're learning English though. Harrington on the overlap. Was a good ball forward to Fernandez. He got held up just a bit with his footwork.
Yeah, I feel like he was in behind Bruner,
yeah,
but may not have realized it. Maybe unselfish looking for a teammate, but he may have been in.
Jewsbury.
You see Will Bruin leading the line, urging his teammates forward. Doesn't want Dynamo sitting too deep here as Portland has found their rhythm here with this current squad. So you like to see that leadership from Bruin now in his 4th year, guiding some of his teammates come out of their shell a bit.
Paparazzo. Tigre for the last 7 years in Argentina. Then a stint in Primera B with Tiro Federal. Began in the Lanús Academy. Casio took that away. Barnes. Back to the Connecticut Husky. On loan from Colorado. Across it goes to Jabala. Barnes picking out Cummings, but he can't get his footwork in order. Ball just a tad behind, and Ricketts is able to snuff it out. 70th minute. 3rd of the 30-minute sessions. We'll play 35, so essentially to the 95th. Garcia. With Harrington, some support from Johnson. Chuma ran into Clark. Rookie wanted the call, didn't get it. And Clark Trying to thread that through. Cummings had drawn enough traffic, and Chara and Nagby, they start the break. Bruner reads it well. Here's a Rudy. And a Rudy off the post. Thought he had the opening goal. Derek thanks the framework and rolling it out to Barnes. Great crossfield pass to find him.
Yeah, probably just a little unlucky there. Inside of the post, but it just stayed out.
Stronger than he looks, Rudy. Great with pressure high up the field, just 22. Kind of got lost in the shuffle, as so many players do in Toronto, whether you're highly touted or not. That trade made Bright DK and a first-round pick heading there in September of last year. It was a good find. Fernandez. So inches away from breaking this scoreless affair in the 72nd minute. Paparazzo. Scorching one here down the flank. Jewsbury timed it well. Scattered across. Bruner cleans to the corner.
Very different feel to this Portland team since this final group has come on. Gaston Fernandez, he's really been the catalyst. Wanting touches on the ball, finding the gaps. Plain simple.
He provides the honors here. Oh, it fell through to Ka. And he kicks it wide. I'd say the whole game, for that matter, once you can tell what is your born and bred first units, give or take. And the intensity's picked up a little. Well, the Dynamo back in action on MLSsoccer.com on Saturday. They'll take on the Earthquakes. It's 4 Central, 3 Mountain Time, 5 Eastern. Here is Barnes off the volley as it came out of the corner.
Yeah, good anticipation there by Giles Barnes. I think he anticipated Ka's clearance may not be the best. Cheated a step or two and was rewarded, and then able to test Ricketts just a bit.
Portland will find themselves tangling up with Seattle as the weekend approaches. It's kind of a rivalry. It's kind of.
Yeah, sort of similar off seasons, or different off seasons for these two teams. Last year, Portland had the overhaul with Caleb Porter and making several trades, bringing in Will Johnson and Ryan Johnson and others. This year, it's a little more of a reload for Seattle, bringing in pieces like Chad Marshall and others.
Marco Papa, Kenny Cooper. Beat San Jose earlier today, 2-1. Ka was offside by a shoulder. Tried to spin around Bruner. Derek with the goal kick. We have 20 minutes remaining here in Tucson. We'll close out the day.
I think a pretty good sign of what they think of Gaston Fernandez and his distribution, Neil. I mean, some pretty good players on the field. Darlington Nagby, Will Johnson, no Valeri, but Fernandez taking the free kicks. You know, it's early, but I think it's a good compliment to him and what they think of him so far.
Sure. Both Paparazzo and the aforementioned Fernandez. The Copa Libertadores and Sudamericana competitions in their Argentine professional careers. Here is the new 10 shirt, Fernandez. Jewsbury had to time up with the line. Back to Gaston Fernandez. Will Johnson. And ran into Boniek Garcia inside the area. The foul is called. Clark. Cochran. Casio in a battle. And that is hit aside and out, and will remain with the Dynamo. Every day is game day with MLS Live. Watch hundreds of live and archive games on your phone, tablet, or computer with MLS Live. Visit live.mlssoccer.com for more information or to subscribe. Casio. Cochran sending one long. Hit the hand of Garcia. So Ka will start it out of the back. Nagbe earns this free kick. Portland battling the wind, but still doing a pretty good job with possession here.
As are we.
Yeah, we're fighting it. Chara off the feed from Fernandez. Hard work from Arudi. Barnes spins out between all three. But there is Shuma taking it from the likes of Garcia and takes a crack right off of Derek. Chilo Chuma looking for 2 goals in 2 preseason matches. Derek from straight on is able to make the stop. Fernandez in a battle. Good little ball there for Rudy, and Cochran and Bruner are able to close it down.
It'll be interesting to see in the regular season and as the preseason goes along, Neil, the roles for this Portland midfield. I know Valeri's coming back from injury, but with Nagbe, Fernandez, and Valeri, you have very interchangeable pieces. You know, all 3 of those could float at will if you wanted. Be interesting to see how Porter deploys them in the regular season.
Don't forget, they love to attack, at least in their 3-pronged forward system, from out wide from those guys on the right and the left. And another piece they added in Steve Zakawani and his health. How that could play a factor. Fernandez, great weighted pass, and Arudi has gotten in 1v1, left it back, and Will Johnson will finish it off. In the 80th minute, the captain has given the Timbers a 1-0 lead.
Fernandez again, the outlet to Arudi, and then something we saw a lot last year, Will Johnson entering the play from midfield. Well-timed run. Seemed to have it caught underneath him a bit, but still did enough to direct it on target. Good goal.
So the best 11 performer from last season, 9 goals and 5 assists. Will Johnson, he finishes off a nice sequence. Started with the great weighted pass to the Argentine Gaston Fernandez. With 15 minutes to play, Portland into the lead. Cummings sends that toward his Jamaican teammate at one time or another, Donovan Ricketts, but it's wide. Ricketts, such an imposing presence in goal. Anytime you'd walk by him, field level, just monstrous. Mitts and all, looks like a linebacker. Harrington. Fernandez couldn't keep that down. Bruin. Great clip out wide into the channel for Cummings. And a better move to work around Johnson. He tried to put it on the front door for Cassio. Jewsbury is able to clear briefly. Chara coming out of the pack. Good lead by the Colombian to Urruti. Jewsbury back to the middle. Linked across to Fernandez. Johnson looked at maybe picking out Nagbe, who now will take it from Jewsbury. As he cuts inside, and Urruti to Nagbe, trying to keep his feet here. Ash and Cochran just able to get enough of it. Cassio and Cummings on the leave-off. Garcia. And the Dynamo find the equalizer. Cassio and Jewsbury collide. Barnes for Chabala. Intervened by Johnson. Chuma. Fernandez, and the Timbers break again with numbers. Argentine to Argentine, and Urruti has made it 2. Three minutes apart, Portland has went up a deuce on Houston. And again, it starts in transition with Fernandez, guiding it beautifully to Urruti, who finished with numbers on the break.
And it looked like the play started. Chabala trying to find Bruin after a good build-up from the Dynamo. Not the best pass from Chabala. Dynamo had their numbers committed forward, so Bruner and Cochran more or less left alone in the back. Fernandez found the right pass, and Urruti made no mistake.
Will Johnson, who had slipped in there to disrupt that Chabala pass, and then start it the other way. Just over 10 minutes remaining. Play to about the 95th minute. 3 30-minute sessions, but with the injury to Arena at the tail end of the second, about 5 minutes added on. This is knocked out of play, and we'll go with a Portland. That will be a corner. Fernandez will play it short. Been the distributor here tonight. Jewsbury. Good find inside. It will fortuitously roll to Urruti. Didn't get enough of it, and Derek scrapes away the remnants. Two goals late here, 80th and 83rd. Pac Northwest trying to sweep the day of Tucson friendlies. Seattle winning earlier, 2-1. Garcia off target there on his pass to Cassio. Jewsbury on the lob into Nagbe. Sends it long. Bruner to the sideline, but not out. Chara. To leave it for Fernandez. Ash takes it back. Moves it to the middle for Clark. Ricardo Clark. Here's Boniek Garcia. Trying to anticipate that Will Bruin run. It's closed off by Paparazzo. Jewsbury turning it on out. Barnes keeping it in the attacking half. Barnes stumbles. Houston trying to keep up the pressure. Going to find their way back into this one with just inside of 10 minutes remaining. Ash fell over the ball there. Chuma has come to this side. Nagby running into Ash, and the foul called. Well, secure your NWSL champion Portland Thorns season tickets now and see Alex Morgan, Christine Sinclair, and the rest of the Thorns all summer long. Season tickets start at only $10 per game. Visit PortlandThornsFC.com to reserve your seats. Alex Morgan, her significant other. A new member of the Dynamo, Servando Carrasco. Played the opening 60 minutes or so. It's given way to much of the first team guys, and now it's Barnes looking for Cassio. Ricketts run just enough to spook it out.
Yeah, it's an interesting combination, Neil. Four guys that haven't played together a whole lot, believe it or not. Cummings hurt most of last year. Bruin and Barnes got a lot of time together, but Cassio has just been with the team for about a week and a half, and Cummings coming back. So it's four very different players sort of finding out how they play together.
Fernandez, Urruti, and a cloud of Naranja as Bruin is able to guide that aside well to Cassio. So you have some leverage here on Jewsbury. Forcing it back in, and that's lashed by Bruin. Lemon corked, but the flag was up down at the other end. Came back in Cassio's direction. This 45-degree pass caught up in the wind. Chuma for Will Johnson. Goal scorer to goal scorer here, Urruti. Coming up on 90 minutes. Play 5 more. Nagby drifts on back. Cassio to Barnes. Now back to Cassio. Heaving that centrally towards Cummings. It's guided wide. Clark now. Garcia and Shabala. Against those two pivots. Clark passing out of it. Jewsbury there to stack the deck. It is easy to forget Portland's D, mentioning the goals conceded last year. So kind of an airtight one up until the red card on Saturday between them and Sporting Kansas City, but maybe not given the credit that you think of because of all the attacking talent and pressure they provide. Well, the same could be said, of course, for Houston or any of these teams that have consistently made their run in the MLS playoffs. You have to have good components on the back end.
I think it was impressive last year, Neil. So many injuries across that back line for Portland, David Horst included, and they sort of had to shift guys into the back towards the end of the season. Cobb became a mainstay in the playoff run, but it was a different group throughout the season.
Houston corner. Garcia takes it. Cleared out of there. Portland did allow a set-piece goal on Saturday. Launched with Chabala, lone man back in the field, playing to Derek. So when we're into what you would call second half stoppage time, although these are more of 30-minute sessions, 35 this last one. Barnes. With Jewsbury working out, Portland battling the wind as they have since the 45-minute mark. 80th and 83rd minute, the goals. Will Johnson, Max Urruti. Clark. It's right through the 5-hole of Chabala. Guy that's gone the distance tonight, one of the few on the field. In fact, the only guy for that matter. Here's Fernandez. Ash cut it off, right back to Derek. Garcia. Putting it into gear, held up there. Chara stymieing. Barnes returning to Ash. Inside of 3 minutes left. Will Johnson. On a cross, Jewsbury. Johnson again. Like was the case at the end of 45, you can see a little of the tired legs settling in here. Portland just trying to ride out the string and put a bow on it. Dynamo back in action on Saturday against San Jose. Portland will follow with Seattle. Sporting Kansas City will take on Indy 11 later in the week. Fernandez, Urruti, Fernandez cries for handball on Cochran. Fall on deaf ears. Garcia. Last push forward. Casio, he swaps sides. A searching ball inside, but easy as pie for Ricketts. Well, the Timbers looking like they will stay unbeaten on this young preseason. Dynamo played their academy team in the opener. Lost that game to Colorado 3-2, so be their second loss, but really results secondary or third at this point with all these teams. 5 new MLS clubs will find their way back in toward the end of the month. Desert Cup. FC Tucson also participating. Here's Barnes. Feeds it inside. That got scattered across, and Jewsbury's going to have to save it as Ricketts was off the line. He was sliding into second base. Good last moments of pressure from Houston there. Left for Nagby. Urruti tried to time it. Flag up for offside. A whistle there, but we're moments from the final one here in Tucson. That's it. So the Portland Timbers with 2 goals, 3 minutes apart, in the 80th and 83rd minute, with what many could say right now is their first team unit early in camp. Will Johnson and Max Urruti on good build-ups from Gaston Fernandez lead to a 2-0 victory here into the evening against the Houston Dynamo. Both teams will be back in action on the weekend. as these Tucson friendlies continue, and teams will go their own ways for the second part of preseason. Desert Cup still ahead later on in the month, and all in all, what you'd expect out of a preseason game. Some good, some things to work on, and a couple of goals in the end, and Portland prevails.
Yeah, Neil, I thought a pretty good performance from both teams. I think the Dynamo will be disappointed with how it ended. I thought in the last 30 minutes, maybe some drops in communication between Eric Brunner and AJ Cochran. Obviously a new partnership, similar to how the game went against Colorado in the final stages. But I think for a Portland Timbers fan, you have to be excited to watch the way Fernandez combined with Darlington Nagbe and Max Arudi and the other attacking players. So the final 30 minutes, probably the most exciting part of the game, and Portland took their chances.
Well, my friend, we'll see you on the MLS trail. Great working with you, and enjoy the rest of the preseason.
Thanks, Neil. That was a lot of fun.
2-0 the final score here, the Portland Timbers over the Houston Dynamo, and we're glad you were aboard today for both of our Tucson friendlies here at the Keno Sports Complex North Stadium. Seattle winning earlier 2-1 over San Jose, and Portland finishing off on the nightcap 2-0. Want to thank our great crew led by Dave Keeble and Albert Lanzillo here on site. For Matt Peterson, this is Neil Sika. Final score, Portland 2, Houston 0. MLS Soccer will have coverage of the Tucson friendlies continuing on Saturday and the Desert Cup later in the month. Until then, from Southern Arizona, good night.